My best friend volunteered to help me deliver a love letter to the school bully. She also said the school bully agreed to let me kiss him in front of everyone so he could come out with me. Actually, she'd been dating the school bully for quite some time. I smiled and said, "Okay." I turned my head and kissed my childhood friend, who had always protected me in my past life. My childhood friend was confused. I've been reborn back to the time before my best friend stole my luck and beauty. Have you ever heard of changing one's fortune? It's always by your side, relying on you, imitating you, tempting you. In the end, it takes away all your good luck and even your beauty. In my previous life, that's exactly how Tangy caused my death. With the school break approaching, the school organized a gala. Chen Wei, the school bully, put on a street dance performance, and Tangy egged me on to go up on stage and blow him a kiss at the end. He just wanted me to be rejected on the spot and make a fool of myself in front of the entire school. On the way to the auditorium, Tangy came over and affectionately slipped her arm through mine. I used to think she liked me. I've only just realized that she was simply trying to increase physical contact with me to gradually turn my luck around. I held the book close to my chest and subtly avoided her. Buzz. My phone vibrated. The teacher posted the list of finalists for the design competition in our class group chat, thoughtfully tagging each student. Ruan Xiangmi name was right there on the list. Tangy was even more excited than I was, and she made a move to come over and hug me. I took a step forward to dodge it. She missed the mark, but her tone remained cheerful, as if she were the one who had won the prize. Xiang, you're so amazing. You're definitely going to win the grand prize this time. Yeah. If everything I own ends up being hers, of course she'll be happy. That's a 100,000 bonus. Don't forget to treat me to a nice meal when the time comes. I scoffed. What if I don't win the Taijin Award? Don't worry. You're definitely going to win the grand prize. If not, I'll treat you to a fancy meal. I remember very clearly that the grand prize winner was Wengu, my childhood friend, who I've known since we were little. I won first prize, which came with a cash prize of 5,000. But that's just how Tangy is no matter what I do. She always sets my expectations sky high. Winning an award and receiving a cash prize is something that should naturally make you happy. But she kept hinting, over and over again, that I could get something better, raising my expectations to the sky. When reality falls short of my expectations, I feel emotionally unbalanced. Even when there's something to celebrate, I can't help but start complaining. She would also badmouth the people ahead of me in line, take my side without any reservations, and comfort me. It leaves me completely in the dark about my own abilities. So I can't improve. The longer you hold a grudge, the less good luck you'll have. It turns out that people who only say sweet nothings aren't true friends at all. When she arrived at the auditorium, Tangy made a point of choosing a seat close to the stage. Xiang, come here quick. It's just a way to get me a little closer to the center. I sat down, going with the flow. Heh, since you want to play games, I'll play along with you all the way. There was still some time before the party started, so I opened my textbook to review today's lesson. I had just gotten to the second point when I was suddenly blinded by a flash. I instinctively looked toward the source of the light. A slender young boy, holding his cell phone, was bright red in the face. When our eyes met, he quickly looked down and hid in his chair. His close friends, laughing and joking, nudged him encouragingly. Go for it, Song Jing. Haven't you had a crush on the goddess Ruan Xiang for a long time? Exactly. It would be nice to just say a few words to her. Hurry. Go ask for their WeChat. The boy named Song Jing clenched his fists, as if he had made a firm resolution. He lowered his head and rushed a few steps toward me. Senior Sister Ruan. I took a secret photo just now. It was wrong of me. I'm sorry. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly bent down. I helped him up and said with a smile, "It's okay. Want to take a picture together? Huh. Is that okay?" I turned to look at Tangy and handed the boy's cell phone to her. Sure. Tang-yi, could you take a group photo of us? Tang-yi didn't expect me to suddenly speak to her, so she quickly pulled back the eye roll she just started, put on a fake smile. Wow, Xiang is really popular. There was an unmistakable hint of jealousy in her tone. So I smiled even more brightly at the camera. Our school focuses on academics and does not hold campus beauty or campus heartthrob contests. But nobody's blind. It's obvious at a glance whether someone is good-looking or not. Song Jing practically skipped back to his seat. Man, that's awesome. Having a photo with the goddess Ruan Xiangfat hurts more than if you'd killed me. I haven't eaten anything yet, so I'm a little hungry. I turned around and winked at Wengu. Wengu, I'm hungry. Just as I was taking a photo with Song Jing, I spotted Wengu sitting behind me. He seems to have always been like this, so inconspicuous that he's practically invisible. He followed silently behind me, watching over me without a word. This time, I'm going to see him. Wengu looked up from her textbook. Beneath her jet black hair lay eyes that shone brighter than the stars. He froze, said nothing, and just stared at me blankly. It seemed like he was checking to see if I was talking to him. Seeing how bewildered he looked, I felt like teasing him. I pouted and said, sounding a bit put out, so the bread wasn't meant for me after all. Before I could even turn my head, Wengu handed me a small roll from his bag. A quiet explanation. It's free. It always has been. Of course I know it's always been that way, because I had anemia when I was a child. Wengu always carried chocolate in small rolls with him. This habit hasn't changed over the years. I just didn't realize it in my past life. Tang-yi reached over to snatch my roll and started yelling, "Don't eat that. It'll make you fat." Manipulating one's fortune is a despicable act. And it will inevitably backfire. For example, it will prioritize removing the bad luck from the person being transported. I said, how come Tang-yi is even more critical of my every move than my own mom? I stuffed a small roll into my mouth and mumbled, I'm fat, so what? Besides, I've always had anemia, and I'm not overweight to begin with. Lately, she's been dragging me into trying to lose weight, and I've actually been feeling more and more run down. The host took the stage, and the show began shortly thereafter. As soon as the school bully Xingwei took the stage, the young female fans in the audience let out gasps of excitement. Aw, he's so handsome. Xingwei, I love you. I couldn't help but smile wryly. In my past life, I was one of those starstruck fans, too. Actually, Xingwei isn't that handsome. Any guy who's 1.8 meters tall, not overweight, and dressed reasonably well is pretty good looking. What drew me to Xingwei was his reputation as the school's top student. People always want what they don't have, and I've been a good girl my whole life. If you really think about it, what's so great about a school bully? They're nothing more than thugs with money, power, and a knack for throwing punches. In the vast majority of school bullying cases, the bullies are the ones who start it. Fortunately, fate gave me another chance. After Xingwei's performance ended, Tang-yi stood up like a, "Madam, everyone, please be quiet. Lighting technician, please shine the spotlight. Ruan Xiang has something to do. Everyone in the whole school knows I'm sucking up to Xingwei, so let's all be quiet at this critical moment." From time to time, provocative whistles rang out from the stands. In my past life, I foolishly went up on stage to kiss Xingwei, only to be rejected by him in front of everyone. He became the laughingstock of the school and never recovered. Tang-yi took the opportunity to stay close to me every day to comfort me, and eventually took my good fortune and beauty. I stood up and saw Xingwei raise his eyebrow impatiently. Tang-yi anxiously pushed me toward the door. I turned around and kissed Wengu. The entire audience gasped. Wengu's eyes lit up, and her long eyelashes fluttered slightly. As I watched the redness gradually spread around Wengu's eyes, I felt even more uncertain. Wengu, I've liked you for a long time. Will you go out with me? The front seats were a bit lower than the back ones, so I leaned forward, sticking most of my body out, to kiss Wengu. The auditorium was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. It looked as if they were about to lose their support. Yet there was still no response. Suddenly, A pair of strong hands gripped my waist. The owner of the hand was trembling. And when Gu closed his eyes, after taking a deep breath, he stammered loudly and passionately, "How could I possibly let you be the one to confess?" When Gu's Adam's apple bobbed twice, his eyes actually glistened with tears as he asked, his voice choked with emotion, "Ruan Xiang, will you be my girlfriend?" The way he looked at me was as if I were some kind of rare treasure. My heart gave a sharp twinge. After I died in my previous life, when Gu visited my grave every day, watched the sunset with me, rain or shine, it's just because I once told him that I wanted to watch the sunset every day with the one I love. I've been coming back here so often that I've gradually gotten to know the old man who tends the grave. "Hey, kid, who's that up there? Is he a relative of yours?" "My love, if you think girlfriend is too superficial, please allow me to call you me beloved. In my previous life, right up until my death, I was never able to let Wengu's secret crush see the light of day. In this life, under the brightest stage lights, I said aloud, yes." We kissed in front of a huge crowd. There were cries of grief and cheers all around, but mostly applause filled with well wishes. Only one sound, one that was excessively shrill, stood out strikingly. Tangy pushed me away and demanded hysterically, "Don't you like Xinwei, the school bully? So why did you end up kissing Wengu?" Wengu furrowed his brow slightly, and I thought he was jealous and upset. In the end, he pulled Tang Yi's arm away from me with a look of disgust on his face. The range of expressions on his face when he realized his hands were dirty after pulling it open but couldn't wash them right away was quite vivid. It turns out that Wengu, who seems like such a quiet type, has such a cute side after all. Chen Wei, on stage, lifted his baseball cap and looked directly at me for a moment. Her gaze was still just as haughty, though it now held a touch more amusement and a hint of disappointment. I looked at Tang Yi and said, word by word, because I like to review what I've learned. Seriously. Upon hearing my reply, Wengu quickly looked down at his toes. A hint of pink at the tips of his ears gave away his true feelings. He wasn't as calm as he appeared to be, seeing that things weren't going the way she'd expected. Tang Yi's eyes widened in anger, and she exploded, saying, "How could that be? You clearly like Xinwei, and you've been asking me to deliver things to him for you all along." I did used to like Xinwei. I've given gifts ranging from small things like breakfast and drinks to bigger items like sneakers and watches. I thought it was a subtle way of expressing his feelings for me, because of Tang Yi's proactive help. The whole thing had long since become common knowledge. I'm Xinwei's sycophant, but it was always Tang Yi who gave the gifts. Standing next to the school bully was Tang Yi. Tang Yi was also the one who spent the most time with the school bully. Under the pretext of having my best interests at heart, she took my things and played matchmaker between me and Xinwei. Even when asked who had given her the gift, she gave an ambiguous, bashful smile. It's not good for girls to be too forward, you have to be a little more reserved to attract boys. Xiang, you're not like me. I'm a guy. So I'm pretty easygoing, I can strike up a conversation with them easily. These are the kinds of things Tang Yi often says. But whenever she went to help me deliver gifts, no matter how cold it was, she'd wear a short skirt and knee-high boots with bare legs. Over time, the brothers around Xinwei all came to regard Tang Yi as their big sister-in-law. But where in the world is there such a good deal? Everything Tang Yi took from me, I'll take back and double it. I let out a soft. The hand smiled contemptuously. Huh. Isn't the school bully the one you like? College students may have innocent eyes, but they're not stupid. When I asked that, it added to the rumors that had been circulating. It's all too easy to figure out that Tang Yi used her role as a matchmaker to steal the guy her best friend liked. It's not a big deal for two sisters to fall for the same guy. What really turns me off is when someone pretends not to like something even though they clearly do, and secretly acts like they're competing for it. Open and covert female rivalry is really a downer. I exposed his true colors, yet he couldn't bring himself to cut ties with the school bully. Tang Yi was at a loss for words for a moment. After a long, dry attempt at a rebuttal, she could only manage a single word. To others, this reaction only served to confirm her actions. By the time she tried to argue back, It was already too late. Suddenly, she remembered something and pulled out of her bag the love letter she was supposed to pass on to the school bully for me. She shot me a smug glance, then shrugged her shoulders and began to whine. Wan Xiang, you know full well that I like Xingwei. So why did you write him a love letter? Well, I guess I'm the one who's being shameless after all. I pretended to avert my gaze from Tang Yi, as if I'd been deeply hurt, and leaned weakly against Wengu's shoulder. Wengu's whole body went stiff, and his fists clenched tightly. I gently took his hand to signal him not to act impulsively. Seeing this, Tang Yi raised her eyebrows and read the love letter aloud with a smug smile. Xingwei, do you know how much I like you? Because I love you. I'll humble myself to the dust. I'd rather be called your lapdog. Tang Yi read aloud with great emotion and expression, while the classmates around her kept casting disdainful glances my way. Is this really the goddess I've always admired? Isn't that just shameless? I'm such an idiot. In my previous life, it was amid this kind of public scrutiny that I gradually broke down. I curled up in Wengu's arms, trembling slightly, laughing. As Tang Yi reached the end, she suddenly fell silent. I snatched the love letter from her hand. Why didn't you keep reading? Let me help you. Let me see. The signature reads, Your eternal suck-up Tang Yi. What the heck? So Tang Yi is the one who's a suck-up. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I thought the goddess's reputation had been ruined. I walked between the school bully and Tang Yi, fixing my gaze on Tang Yi. Tang Yi. I know you like Xingwei. I know you've been putting off confessing your feelings because you're afraid of being rejected. And you've been using me as an excuse to show your affection. It's nice to take this opportunity to express my feelings today. By the way, could you please pay me back the money you borrowed from me to buy that gift for Xingwei? Not a penny more or less. I calculated it, and it comes to exactly 58,000. Should I send it via WeChat or Alipay? Since you're so fond of taking my things as a favor to yourself, why not just pay for it out of your own pocket? Tang Yi was in a bind and ground out 3 words through clenched teeth. Alipay. The funny thing is, I didn't have enough money in Alipay. Oh no. I only received 57,750 on Alipay. Please transfer me those 250 yuan via WeChat. Tang Yi was so furious her face turned green. Yet she still had to keep up appearances in front of Xingwei. Once I had the money in hand, I smiled and led Wengu away. I'll leave the rest of the time to the two of you to work it out on your own. It's turned into quite a big deal. I heard that after I left. Tang Yi didn't catch the school bully's eye. Xingwei put his baseball cap back on, muttered, boring, and walked away. Tang Yi was left standing there alone, looking like a joke. The people in the auditorium laughed at him for a long time. Is that pitiful? I don't think so at all, because in my past life, I was the one who was mocked like that in the auditorium. Just thinking about that scene makes my body tremble uncontrollably. Isn't it too cold? Wengu took off his jacket and handed it to me, his tone full of concern. I took advantage of the situation and snuggled into Wengu's arms. So warm. My heart is beating so fast. Wengu was so flustered he couldn't even breathe. It took him 2 seconds to snap out of it and hug me back. Very tight. Very tight, as if it were afraid I'd disappear. Wan Xiang. I remember how Wengu used to love saying my name like that when we were at the cemetery. I'm here. Wan Xiang. I'm here. If you like me, you can't like Sheng, or anyone else anymore. Okay. I was surprised to discover that Wengu, who had always been unassuming and self-disciplined, also had a domineering side. A gentle overachiever. Forced romance. That's so thrilling. I love it. It wasn't until later that I realized this wasn't just domineering. It was downright heartless. He was so excited he didn't sleep a wink all night. He stayed up all night working through practice problems and put together 8 thick volumes of study notes for me. Sure. That's a good way to review what we've learned. I thought Tang Yi would be down for a while after what happened. I never expected that the moment I opened the dorm room door, she would suddenly drop to her knees with a thud. My roommate and I were both stunned. Even during the Lunar New Year, isn't it a bit inappropriate to go to such great lengths? Xiang. I was wrong. Tang Yi's makeup was smudged from crying. And she lunged at me on her knees. It looked a bit like a zombie. Quick as a flash, I took a step back. Oh, what could you possibly have done wrong? Tang Yi, having come up empty-handed, cried for a long time, sobbing uncontrollably, yet all she could say over and over again was, I was wrong. I was wrong about everything. Please forgive me. Since I helped you at the beginning, please don't ignore me. Okay. If it hadn't been for Tang Yi's reminder, I would have almost forgotten. At the beginning of the semester, I signed up for an evening elective course at another campus. After class, I went to the bike shed to get my bike, only to find that someone had punctured the tire. When Gung Yugu came to pick me up, we were targeted by a few delinquent youths. It was Tang Yi who showed up and saved me. The next day, photos of me struggling with the thug appeared on the campus forum. First, there's a bunch of smelly people look at the picture and describe it. During that time, I was feeling really down. It was also Tang Yi who was always by my side, encouraging and comforting me, but it wasn't until after I died that I found out those thugs had been hired by Tang Yi. When Gu spent the entire night deleting my photos and the offensive comments on the campus forum. One by one, Tang Yi approached me just to exchange luck with me. I was scared at the time and was going through a rough patch emotionally. I could only see Tang Yi's enthusiasm and kindness, but they forgot that here's no such thing as a free lunch, especially when you're at your most vulnerable. Very few people are actually there to lend a helping hand. There are even more people out there who will take advantage of the situation to squeeze every last bit of value out of you. Ever since then, I've considered Tang Yi my best friend. When she was distressed that her work had been plagiarized by a master, I was the first to step in and help her defend her rights. But as I kept going, I gradually realized it was Tang Yi who plagiarized the master's work first. When the master failed to assert his rights, he deliberately retaliated in the same way. Tang Yi didn't tell me a thing about this beforehand. In the blink of an eye, I went from being in the right to being the one making a fuss for no reason. And I ended up offending the master. Tang Yi, on the other hand, stayed by my side the whole time, saying, I told you a long time ago there's no need to fight for your rights. I stood up for her, so I was the one who offended the master. And in the end, she slipped away unscathed. I noticed the camera in the corner. I bet this girl is up to something again. I quickly helped her up. All right, I forgive you. She didn't expect me to agree so readily, and Tang Yi was still a little taken aback. Really? Sure. Go take a shower and get some sleep. In the middle of the night, Tang Yi drew the bed curtains and busied herself in bed. A eerie green light emanated from the bed. I know that's notes on changing one's fortune. The next day, while Tang Yi and her roommates were out at class, I locked the door from the inside and found Tang Yi's notes on changing my luck. I opened an old, tattered book to the page where my name was written. It clearly displays the progress of Tang Yi and Ruan Xiang's fortune change. 65%. Fortunately, things haven't reached the point of no return. I quietly changed the progress to 70%. In the days that followed, I pretended to be on good terms with Tang Yi. Whenever you have the chance, increase the progress a little more. Tang Yi was becoming more and more brazen. Every day, she's all smiles, waiting to swap lives with me. She eats without restraint, doesn't take her studies seriously. And even the way she looks at my boyfriend while he's reviewing his notes is getting more and more lewd. Because, in her eyes, everything about me would soon belong to her. On the day I adjusted the progress to 90%. Tang Yi could no longer hide her smug expression. I can't wait to see the look on her face when she finds out the truth. When Gu and I are getting more and more lovey-dovey. Before class, when Gu brought me breakfast. Thanks. Holding the steaming buns, I waved goodbye and headed back to the classroom. Wait a minute. When Gu pulled me close in, with a gentle look in his eyes, brushed aside my tousled strands of hair. The sunlight fell on Wengu, and it felt so warm. I reached out and gently rubbed his fair face a few times. Mr. Wen, smile a little. I don't really understand it even after reviewing it, so I'll just do as I'm told. Wengu smiled. The corners of her eyes crinkling looked lovely. I tiptoed over and whispered in his ear. Haruki Murakami said, "If I love you, and you happen to love me too, when your hair gets messy, I'll smile and brush it back for you." Wengu's breathing gradually became irregular. So I turned to run away. He picked her up and held her close across her waist. "That's too close." Wengu's intense gaze gradually took on a menacing quality. "No way. This is a hallway, after all." Seeing me avert my gaze, Wengu pulled his hoodie up, enveloping me. "Miss Wan, remember to breathe." Back at my seat, my face was still flushed. Wengu really is a top student. This technology, has it really advanced that rapidly? That 8 a.m. class is really unbearable. I finally made it through to the break. I opened the little gift Wengu had given. Might was a pretty hair clip. Since I've been with Wengu, I've been getting little gifts every day. Sometimes it's a peeled pomelo. Sometimes it's a flower. Sometimes it's a cup of milk tea. I asked Wengu, "Are you trying to treat me like a little kid?" "What? Can't I spoil my own child? Won't that be too exhausting for you? It's okay to keep it a little simpler." Wengu pinched the chubby part of my cheek. "The time I spend on you is less than 1% of my total energy. But because it's spent on you, it's enough to illuminate the remaining 99% of my time. Anne." He moved closer to me. "Miss Wan, things are pretty tame right now, but once we're married, things will get even more exciting." Huh. I never would have thought that Wengu, with his ascetic vibe, would be so irreverent. My face was getting redder and redder. The envious murmurs around me interrupted my recollections. "Wow. That's so beautiful. Let me guess, did that top student from Wengu give it to you?" My classmates started teasing me good-naturedly. And sure enough, as soon as class ended, everyone perked right up. Tangy walked by after using the restroom. She had been indulging herself both physically and mentally lately. Her face has gotten noticeably rounder. It only makes matters worse for my eyes, which are already struggling. Her narrow eyes lit up, and she made a move to snatch my hair clip. I dodged her attempt without batting an eye, but she didn't give up. Xiang, your new hair clip is so pretty. Can I try it on?" If this had happened in the past, I would have naively agreed. But now, my boyfriend gave it to me, so I can't lend it out. Okay. The next day, Tangy wore the same hair clip again. Xiang. I think this style looks nice. I'd like to wear the same one as you. I hope you don't mind. Hee. Tangy was just like that in her previous life. 2. See what I use and what I wear. First, come over and flatter metal me. I have good taste. They secretly bought the same thing behind my back, and then flaunted it right in front of me. It seems that offering praise in advance has become her get-to-fail-free card for imitating others. This slight is not worth mentioning, but it's like a thorn. It makes you feel sick from time to time. As the fate shift progressed, Tangy gradually replaced me, step by step, starting as an imposter. I gave a couple of awkward laughs and didn't respond. The atmosphere suddenly became a little awkward. Tangy took off her hair clip with a look of hurt. "I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd mind such a small thing." Wow. This is the first time I've seen someone make others feel sick and still act so wronged. That's a new one for me. Qin Shuang, a model I found at school, spoke up for me when she saw what was happening. Right on the money. I give Qin Shuang a thumbs up. Qin Shuang is widely recognized at school as a striking beauty. She has a stunning, bold appearance and a cheerful personality. It fits perfectly with the strong female lead theme in my recent designs. As I walked her downstairs, I expressed my gratitude. "Thank you, heroine, for speaking up for me. Don't mention it. You paid more than the market rate, so putting in a good word for you is no big deal. Be sure to call me if you need any work in the future." After saying that, she gave me a flirtatious wink, hopped on her black motorcycle, and rode off. "He's so handsome." I watched the beautiful woman walk away longingly, when suddenly someone grabbed me by the shoulders. Wengu spoke in a low voice. "Am I as handsome as him?" "Oh my gosh, Why is one, that total hottie, so jealous over every little thing? But it's pretty cute. We were on Sunset Boulevard, our fingers tightly intertwined. The afterglow of the setting sun spills across the earth, a tenderness within reach. On our way to dinner, we ran into Xingwei and Tang Yi. Tang Yi tiptoed over to Xingwei, handed him a bottle of sports drink, and said in a soft, delicate voice, Sheng, this is for you. Xingwei didn't stop walking. He took the drink and immediately tossed it into the trash can. Xingwei wasn't very friendly toward Tang Yi. And the henchmen behind him were even less so. Tang Yi froze in her tracks. When she saw me, she sneered and said, if the person who gave you water today were Wan Xiang, would you still throw it in the trash? Xingwei stopped in his tracks and stared at me as he replied. No. I smiled and slipped my arm through Wengu's. Don't worry. I won't send it. If my best friend has her eye on a guy, I wouldn't go for him no matter how much I like him, let alone. I don't like it at all. I thought I had made my point very clear. But there are just some people who don't understand plain language. Lately, I've been receiving gifts out of the blue. Library. When I came back from the restroom, there was a huge bouquet of roses waiting for me on my seat, faced with the curious stares of my classmates. I wanted nothing more than to crawl into a hole in the ground. It's so flashy, it definitely wasn't a gift from Wengu. I quickly packed my things and got out of there. Xingwei appeared out of nowhere. Staying close to me, he asked in a normal speaking voice. Don't like roses. Should I get you something else? Ugh. So greasy. Making a loud commotion in the quiet library drew the disapproving glances of quite a few classmates. I ran all the way out of the library in one go. This is a library. Can't you be more considerate of your surroundings when you speak and act? Xingwei curled the corners of his mouth and said in a cocky tone. Okay. Then I won't drop them off at the library anymore. I was so angry I started laughing. Xingwei, what are you doing? You aren't trying to ask me out, are you? Xingwei looked down and gazed at me intently. It's funny, really, even when I was completely obsessed with him, he never once looked at me that way. During the summer, the school clubs organized a social event. I was called in at the last minute to help out. A few guys from other schools had had too much to drink and insisted on making me drink with them. Xingwei walked by with his crew. The phrase "a good dog doesn't block the way" got me out of a tight spot. At that moment, I realized that the school bully wasn't as scary as people made him out to be. I quietly followed him, and anyone with eyes could tell what I was thinking. But even though he's had countless women come and go, he's still stringing me along. He knew all about the little schemes Tang Yi was pulling behind the scenes, but he just enjoyed the twisted pleasure of having me act like his lapdog. Thinking about what he'd once said to my younger brother, I gave a self-deprecating smile. Didn't you say you'd never fall for a good girl in this lifetime? Xingwei was taken aback for a moment, licked his lips, and said with a smile, It's been modified. Xingwei, do you really think the whole world revolves around you? Just because you've turned over a new leaf, does that mean others have to accept you? I took out a wet wipe and said as I wiped my hands, But you're really dirty. You know. Xingwei was enraged by my words. His pupils contracted. And he pinned me against the wall. He gripped my neck and forcefully lifted my chin. In a somber tone, Let's just get dirty together. There is a significant physical strength gap between men and women. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free from Xingwei's grip. I cursed under my breath. Just as I expected. Thugs are thugs, they have absolutely no respect for others. Why on earth would the good girl in the novel fall for a violent, controlling maniac like that? As I watched Xingwei's face draw closer and closer, I closed my eyes in despair, reviewing the past. If Wengu were here, that would be nice. Suddenly, Xingwei was knocked to the ground by an external force. Freed from his grip, I slid down the wall and fell into familiar arms. Wengu hugged me anxiously to comfort me. Be good. Xiang, you're okay. Xiang. Strange, I didn't feel wronged at all. But now that I think back on it, it's as if a child who had fallen suddenly had an adult there to support them. The tears just kept flowing. That punch was no light blow. Xingwei ended up with a bruise on his right cheek. Xingwei spat a mouthful of blood onto the ground. He smiled defiantly and glared at Wengu, saying, "Hey, buddy, wanna race? If I win, you have to let me have Ruanxiang. What if you lose? If I lose, I promise I'll never bother Ruanxiang again." Wengu's large hand, which had been gently patting my back, paused. "You really didn't lose a thing, did you?" I shook my head. I didn't want Wengu to get too involved with Xingwei. Wengu gently wiped away my tears. Ruanxiang is a person with her own mind. It's not up to you to win her over, but I don't mind beating you at what you're good at. At school, students are curious about anything that has nothing to do with their studies. On the day of the competition at the billiards hall, the place was packed. It made the boss grin from ear to ear. Me too. That's hilarious. Xingwei actually challenged Wengu to a game of pool. Looking back on my teens, I was really into billiards and once made it into the top 80 in a snooker tournament. Because of his studies, he didn't continue playing. Xingwei really had no idea about this at all. Xingwei is a regular at this billiards hall. Looking as if he were certain of victory, he handed Wengu a pool cue. "You go first." "I'm afraid if I go first, certain people won't get a chance to try it." Wengu took the pool cue and replied casually, "Thank you." Xingwei's cronies began to cheer and stir up a commotion. That's Xing for Yoha really is a big heart guy. The way I see it, this Preta boy will only be able to hold a pool cue for a little while. Ha 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 ha. With the balls set up, Wengu's eyes instantly sharpened as he bent down to take his shot. With a crisp thud, Wengu sank 3 balls in a single shot. The billiards hall fell silent in an instant. Seeing this, Xingwei's younger brother immediately teased, "That nerd sure is lucky." Wengu gave a slight smile. "Okay, I got lucky. Should I keep going?" 2 in. 3 in. Wengu has scored on every shot. Not a single unnecessary flourish. It was crisp and clean. He was like a completely different person compared to yesterday when he asked me to practice with him. I can't help but think about how, after he scored a goal yesterday, he asked for a kiss and showed me, step by step, how to put the ball into the hole. My face flushed without my realizing it. Xiang, look how nervous you are. Your face is all red." "It's okay." I cleared my throat to hide my embarrassment. Wengu definitely heard it. As he scored, he looked up at me and gave me a sly smile. "Thanks to someone who practiced with me yesterday, I'm really hitting the ball well today." There are fewer and fewer balls on the court. Xingwei, who had been slumped in his chair, confident that victory was assured, stood up. Quite a few students were whispering to each other, "Don't you guys think Wengu is actually pretty handsome? Why do we even need to think about it? He's already good looking, and he does well in school, too. Then how come we didn't notice it all this time? He's a good guy. Keeps a low profile but he doesn't sell much." In less than 10 minutes, Wengu finished his last shot. Neither humble nor arrogant. "Thank you for your kindness." Xingwei's words turned out to be prophetic. Sure enough, that person didn't get a chance to try it out today. It's just that this Amianai is actually himself. Wengu took my hand and was about to leave, but Xingwei blocked her path. Wengu shielded me behind him. "I've already defeated you on your own terms, so please keep your promise." Xingwei looked past Wengu at me. "If I say I regret it, do I still have a chance?" Wengu loosened his shirt cuffs. "To be honest, even if you beat me today, I won't let you take Ruanxiang away, because you don't deserve it. I know you look down on people like me, and I look down on you, too. You're good at video games, good at pool, good at picking up girls. What's there to be proud of or brag about? The reason you can dominate in these areas is that there are plenty of people like me who take life seriously and work hard and who wouldn't bother wasting their time competing with you. If you're not capable of providing for Ruanxiang's future, then don't come and disrupt her present. Reflecting on a single conversation is better than reading for 10 years. Since then, Xingwei hasn't come to see me again. That day, a few small-time hoodlums who were hanging around aimlessly at the pool hall even took Wengu as a role model and decided to go back and study hard. The The results and prize money for the design competition have been announced. As expected, Wengu won the grand prize. And I won first prize. When Tangyi heard the news that I had won the award, she was even happier than I was. Xiang, I knew you could do it. With a bonus this big, I've got to treat everyone to a nice meal, don't I? I pretended to be very sad. Oh. But I'm so sad. Didn't you say I'd win the grand prize? Oh. Right, you also said that if I didn't get it, you'd treat me to a meal to cheer me up. Tangyi is still the best. Where should we go for dinner tonight? As soon as she heard she'd have to pay out of her own pocket, Tangyi immediately stopped talking. But the other girls in the dorm were always being pressured by her to treat them to meals, so they'd long since taken a dislike to her. How about some hot pot? Let's go to Hadaleo. What time is it? Let's say 10 p.m. There's a student discount. Tangyi, look how nice we are to you. Tangyi didn't say anything at the time, but on Friday night she suddenly brought it up on her own. Come on, girls. Let's celebrate our great designer Juan. It's on me. And after this, let's go sing some karaoke. Before leaving, Tangyi made a point of reminding me, Xiang, it gets cold at night, you should wear that white jacket. It looks great. I wonder what mischief Tangyi is up to this time. I asked Wengu to come pick me up a little earlier. The hot pot dinner went pretty smoothly. But once they got to the KTV, Tangyi was like a different person. He came to toast me, but he drank every single glass himself. Later, he said he was cold and borrowed my jacket. It was a bit stuffy in the private room. So I went outside to get some fresh air. Muffled groans could be heard from time to time in the alley. It was pitch black in the alley, with shadowy figures moving about. All I could make out was a person being beaten by a group. I turned on my phone and played the sound of a police siren. Hearing the noise, the gang of thugs fled in panic. A disheveled figure crawled out of the alley. It was none other than Xingwei. When Xingwei saw me, he instinctively tried to hide and avoid me. But with all the cuts and mud on me, there was simply no way to hide it. In the end, all I could do was give an awkward smile. Even a smile made the corners of my mouth ache. And it looked more like crying than laughing. Did you set off the alarm? I nodded. Thanks a lot. How about I treat you to a meal? Wengu ran toward me from the light. I shook my head. No. Thanks. He jogged in the direction of Wengu. Wait a minute. I turned to look at Xingwei, who was leaning against the wall to steady himself. He gave me a nasty smile. Ruan Xiang. I'm sorry. A teenager who had gone astray finally learned what love is. But in the end, I still missed it. He opened his mouth as if to say something else. But in the end, he simply said, with a hint of urgency, it's nothing. Go find Wengu's a really nice guy. Better than me. Wengu took off his jacket and put it on me. Why didn't you bring a jacket when you went out? You must be freezing. I shoved my hands into the pockets of my Wengu coat. Aren't you curious about what just happened? Wengu lowered his head and nuzzled the tip of my nose. I saw it, and my reason tells me that if I were in that person's shoes, I would have done the same thing. But I'm still curious. Jealousy only goes away when Miss Ruan gives me a kiss. Tangyi has gone crazy. He roams around the campus year-round, barely clothed. He grinned foolishly and told everyone he met. I'm Ruan Xiang. Hee. I'm Ruan Xiang. I heard that after Wengu and I left that day. A dozen or so people wearing black balaclavas burst into the KTV, stormed into our private room, and snatched Tangyi away. She had been sleeping there, using my jacket to cover herself to sober up. I called the police right away, but they still haven't found the person. 2 days later, Tangyi was thrown out of the van. Tangyi had been tortured beyond recognition. She woke up in the hospital and had gone mad. Even more outrageous is that, following an investigation, it turned out that the employer who hired those people was none other than Tangyi herself. But Tangyi had already lost her mind, so there was no point in asking her anything. And in the end, the matter was simply dropped. Since Tangyi kept shouting, I am Ruan Xiang. Rumors have been circulating that she was jealous of me and wanted to find someone to ruin me. But karma ended up coming back to haunt her. Only I know that it wasn't just a rumor, it was the backlash from changing one's fortune. Changing my luck has never worked. Everything Tangy tried to do to me ended up backfiring on her. She had many chances to back down, but she chose to see it through to the end. Those who commit many wrongdoings will surely bring about their own downfall. Wengu has always been a man of his word. After we got married, he really did treat me better and better, and it was so exciting. The only thing is, he has a quirk. He can't sleep well at night unless he's holding me. On his birthday, I got up early to make him a bowl of noodles. The water hadn't even come to a boil yet when I heard Wengu screaming my name at the top of her lungs. Ruan Xiong. Wengu ran up to me without even putting on his pants. His eyes bloodshot and veins bulging. He rushed over and hugged me tightly, regaining one's tone. That scared the life out of me. That scared the life out of me. I patted him on the head. What's wrong? Thinking back on it still sends a shiver down my spine. She's nestled against my neck. Honey, I just had a nightmare. I dreamed that you were killed by someone killed with a green notebook. In the dream, I was so weak. I didn't do anything. It wasn't until after you died that I started searching everywhere for a way to save you. I knelt and prayed my way down the 3,000 long steps, begging you to come back. As Wengu spoke, tears began to stream down his face. Honey, I'm sorry. In my dream, I didn't manage to save you right away. I kissed Wengu on the lips. You fool. You saved me from a world of trouble a long time ago.